Hello friends, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. Originally this video was going to be both non-spoilers and spoilers, however this video ended up being like 50 minutes, so I'm just re-recording this intro because I'm going to do a separate video where I do my spoiler thoughts. So this video is just going to be my non-spoiler thoughts for the series, so if you have not read this series and you want to watch this video, you will not be spoiled in the slightest, so this is just a little warning so you know all that is happening. So without further ado, let's just jump into the video. For today's video, I am really excited for this video because I am doing my Shades of Magic trilogy review, as you already know from the title. Here is the series. Looks like this. I am very excited for it because I absolutely loved this trilogy so much and I have so many things I want to say, and honestly let's just jump right in to this review series thing. Basically for this video I'm going to be going over some non-spoiler thoughts for each of the 3 books. There is a Darker Shade of Magic, a Gathering of Shadows, and a Conjuring of Light, so that way you get the gist of my feelings for the series, and then also going over my thoughts on the series overall. I'm going to start off by describing what a Darker Shade of Magic is about, so that way for any of you that don't know what it is about, you will know. So this book basically is about 4 different worlds, each of them centering around a London. So like the geography of this world and the rules and the people of these worlds are all different. They just all seem to have a place that is similar called London. There is Red London, which basically is flourishing with magic and people are generally happy. There's White London, which magic is slowly being drained out from like the world. There's Grey London, which is similar to our London, set in 1819 I believe, so it does not have any magic. And then there is Black London, which it now longer does not exist because it has been eaten up by magic. We follow one of our main characters named Kel, and basically Kel is an Antari, which means he is one of the only people that is able to travel between these worlds, and he acts as an ambassador and messenger for the Red London Kingdom. And basically Kel is also a smuggler. He doesn't really smuggle anything bad between the worlds, he just smuggles things in general, which is highly illegal, so he'll trade like trinkets for other trinkets between the worlds, that kind of thing. And basically Kel finds himself smuggling a dangerous item from somewhere that he should not have, and he has to figure out a way to put it back where it belongs without destroying all of the universes entirely. And fleeing into Grey London, Kel meets Lila Bard, who actually tries and successfully robs Kel, and that's essentially how their stories get intertwined. Lila is also a main character as well, so she robs him, but then she also saves his life, and then they end up just working together for the rest of the story and that kind of thing. So basically Kel made a bad mistake, has to put this thing back, and Lila wants in on this cool adventure. That is the best way I feel I can describe this book. I hope that made sense. If you want to learn more, just look up a synopsis for Darker Shade of Magic. It'll probably explain it a little bit better than I just did, but I hope that makes sense. I really loved this book and this entire series so much. I'm not gonna say what these 2 books are about because spoilers, but that's the gist of this book, and yeah. Let's just jump on into my non-spoiler review of A Darker Shade of Magic. So I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars, my first 5-star rating of the year, and honestly I still stand by this rating because sometimes I'll read a book and like think it deserves 1 rating, but then a few weeks later, days later, months later, I'll think actually now that I'm thinking about it, it actually deserves something less. And so this book I read in January, and the fact that it still is a 5-star book means it's just a work of art and it's amazing. You should read it. By the way, I have like a bunch of pages of notes, so if I happen to be like looking down, it's because that's where my laptop is, just so you know. I thought this book had a great balance between great characters and great plot. This series definitely like is focused more on characters, but I found this book specifically had a great balance between great characters and great plot. I am normally a plot-driven reader, however I think this book and this series changed that for me a little bit because these characters were developed so well, even in this first book and even more in the books beyond. I've never seen characters written the way Victoria Schwab has written these characters, and I'm honestly living for it so much. Like if you're a character like driven reader, you will absolutely love this series, there's no doubt about it. And the fact that I'm normally a plot driven reader can say something about that, so definitely the way these characters were written is one of the reasons I love this book, this series so much. I also love the plot of this book. I tried to explain it without giving too much of the actual plot away because I want you to be able to enjoy like the magical experience of finding out everything for the first time by yourselves if you do end up reading it. The different Londons in this book were so cool. So as I said, there's 4 different Londons, and each of them are described in like such distinct ways that you don't confuse any of them. Like nothing's recycled, like it's all new, it's all like well explained, it's amazing. And also the magic in this book is simple yet really amazing. We see the use of elemental magic, with some people being able to weld one of the 5 elements or one or more of the 5 elements, basically either water, fire, wind, earth, and or bones. And we also see the use of blood magic. So Kel is an Antari, so he can use blood magic, and I really liked those two kind of magical things there. And also just like the whole worlds and magic system and characters blend so well together, and like nothing really seems out of place, like something that doesn't belong, and it all just kind of works well together. And honestly, Victoria Schwab is an amazing author and writer and story world creator. She's amazing, and I really am excited to read some of her other series and duologies and stuff that she has. And also, I think she's definitely earned a lifelong fan just because of this amazing trilogy. It's so good. Two main characters in this book, as I kind of mentioned already, Kel and Lila. They are amazing. I love them so much. Their personalities are quite different. Also, in addition to that, none of the characters in this book or series feel recycled after other characters, so they're all their own independent people, and we stand. They are just some of my favorite characters ever because they're so well developed. They have all their morals explained and their values. I just love them, and they kind of work really well together, and they just make such a good pairing for this adventure story, if that makes sense. And I just love them. So if you like amazing characters, interesting plots, magic system, and some good times, I would definitely recommend A Darker Shade of Magic. Also, please read it because it's amazing, and I want someone to yell and scream about this book with. So please, thank you, read it. Yes. Okay, moving on. Let's put this over there. Now we're gonna have my non-spoiler thoughts for A Gathering of Shadows. So if you have never read this series or you haven't gotten to this, these are my non-spoiler thoughts so you won't get spoiled. So first off, I loved this book, again, as I've said many times already, but I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'll get into a few minutes later on why I did not give this book a 5 out of 5 stars, but I just really love this book, and here's why. In this book, we get to see a lot of development from our characters in the last book, and also meet some new characters that are equally as amazing, and just I love them so much. Something I also really want to point out in this book, and then later in this book as well, but for this book for now, is the romance. So good. I am a sucker for good romance in books and everything because I don't know, it's cute, I like it, it's good, and this book was really doing it for me. This is definitely some of the best romance I've ever read, and I love it so much. There's a part in the book, and it just got me so much. I just kept rereading this one page over and over and over again because I was hooked to the core. And honestly, there's two couples in particular for this book that I really loved, and I still love, and they're great and amazing, and they both of the four of them all deserve the world, and the two pairs work well together, and then the contrast. Basically, if you like awesome romance and good character interaction stuff, read it, it's amazing, you'll love it. This main thing for this book though, not even the main thing, one of the most amazing things in this book, because everything's amazing, is the ending. Now, you can kind of understand where the book is going towards the end, but it's one of those things where it's happening quite quickly near the end, and you're putting the book down, you're please let them live happily ever after, even though this is a fantasy book. When does that ever happen in the second book in the trilogy? Never. Okay. But the ending, I literally, once I finished this book, had to put it down and just contemplate my life and everything I just read, because it was intense, and the characters, how they were reacting to it, and also this major development we saw, and a particular character's story. Oh my god, I don't know how to say it, but if you read this book, you know how this ends, and my heart. That's all I can really say. The only slightly negative thing I have for this book, and why I gave it 4.5 stars instead of 5 stars, is because of the slow pacing I found in the beginning. This is something that's not just me, I actually heard it from a bunch of other people as well, from reading Goodreads reviews and also watching other reviews on this book. Basically, just the beginning of it, I found it was pretty slow. Some people found it slow the whole way through, but I actually found it started to pick up roughly near the 1/3 middle part. So if you push through the first part again is very character focused, and I found it could have been picking up a little bit more. However, that's the only really downside I found for this book, because the rest of the book is a great pacing. Towards the end it starts to pick up, which is what I really like, and I just thought it was really good, and there's really nothing bad I can say about this book other than the fact that it was a little slow in the beginning. Everything else was perfection, hence I only docked 0.5 stars. So this book is just really good. I would highly recommend it. If you did enjoy A Darker Shade of Magic and you're wondering if you should continue on to the next book, I definitely recommend you do, because I know the first book ended pretty soundly, but trust me, the world has so much more to explore and it's so worth it to read the second book. Trust me, you won't regret it. Moving on to the third book, which is called A Conjuring of Light. So this book was my least favorite in the series, but I can't even really say that because I still loved it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I've said throughout this part in the video already, this book did an amazing job on its characters, like the way they just got developed further and the new characters we see and get to see developed. Honestly, I was living for it, and also the amount of character perspectives we get to see in this book was like so cool, because I don't really know how to describe this, but I'll try my best. So not only do we learn about characters through their own perspectives, we learn about these characters from other people's perspectives, and then also we learn about our main characters from our random characters that get like a chapter dedicated to the perspective. We get these like random people that don't seemingly matter, and how their input on certain characters just influences, like gives you another side of how these characters are. I hope that makes sense, but like the way these characters were written, like the flashbacks, the other characters, it just really builds onto these characters, and I really loved it. I hope that makes sense. There were a few things in the story that weren't my favorites, so I'll just go over them quickly. One of them being, I did not really like the structure of the story. I'm not sure if structure is the right word, but that's what I'm going with. Basically, books tend to follow like a similar like structure, if you say. So like there's like an inciting incident, a hook, a whatever. In the beginning of this book, there was a lot of action. Normally they don't have much action in the first part of the book, but this book was filled with action because it picked off right up from the cliffhanger of the last book. And then during the middle, it kind of died down, and then towards the end, it kind of built back up, but the ending I didn't find was as exciting as I normally would have liked. Normally in books that I tend to enjoy, there's like something like coming, like you know that there's gonna be something big happening towards the end, and then at the end it just kind of skyrockets. I wasn't expecting a plot twist in this book because it is the last one, but I was expecting something like big to happen that I wasn't expecting, or just something that I wasn't expecting to happen, and so I kind of saw what was gonna happen as the book went on. It wasn't too like not obvious, if that makes sense. So I was just kind of disappointed that I wasn't like seeing that big like underlying event that was gonna happen, because I saw it like being like foreshadowed, being happening, just like also common sense of what you think's gonna happen. So that just kind of threw me off a little bit there. I hope that makes sense. The ending was really good, it just wasn't as climactic as I would have liked. But yeah, all those things that I just said about the structure, whatever, of the story and the ending kind of just get overruled because the characters are so good, and also the romance in this book could potentially be even better than the romance in the last book. I don't know, it's probably tied, but it's amazing. There's just, we see the romance build of these couples, and I'm just living for it because they're all so like amazing. So there's 2 couples that I really like, and each of the 4 characters individually are like their own people. They have their own values and morals, but then you also see the other side of them that like cares for the other person, and you're like, yes, y'all are amazing. You deserve each other. You deserve the world. Oh my god, they're just amazing, and I don't have any other words to say but amazing because they're amazing. So yeah, I would say this book did a pretty good job of closing off the trilogy, and if you read A Gathering of Shadows and you're debating on whether or not you want to read Conjuring of Light, first off, with the cliffhanger of A Gathering of Shadows, you're gonna want this book the second you finish it, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I would recommend it, and I'd say it's really good for closing off this trilogy. Some overall thoughts for these books. Honestly, like, this trilogy took me on such an adventure. I was reading these 2 books as I was sick, and it was just so exciting to go into this whole other universe with these other characters, to see how these characters feel and how they build. Like, one thing I really liked is that the top 5 characters I would say are Kel, Lila, Rye, Alucard, and Holland, and I can pick out like the motives of each of their characters, the backstory, the relationships they had, their goals, their dreams, everything about them. Like, I can just picture them already, and not only because it was stated once in the book, but it was weaved through this entire trilogy of each of the things that happened to them. It was so well done and so well put together that it feels so authentic and so real, and I just loved the development we see through these characters, through this world. I loved everything about it. So honestly, if you're still watching to the end of this video, thank you for staying here. But I hope you enjoyed this series, because I really know that I did, and it's honestly one of my favorites because of all the great characters, the world building, and the lessons like kind of learned through this book as well. I would really recommend this series. I hope you enjoyed this video. Honestly, my thoughts on this series, I'm realizing, are quite jumbled because I realized I could be talking about this series for hours, but that's not gonna make for an entertaining video. I love the romance in this book, I love the characters, I love the magic, I love everything basically. So if you've read these books and you like them as well, we can be friends. Like, let's be real here. That is essentially all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below any questions you have for me about this series. Tell me which book you liked the best, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, I will see you next time, and until then, bye.